The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
The interesting thing that happened Thursday, Friday of last week was the drop, if you would, and sometimes in our business they're called drops, sometimes they're just called hunts by really good investigative reporters about Barack Obama and who in the fact Obama is the fact, or someone says the facts and the fiction, the proof, and the true rather, and the unprovable. Well, last week, and it was great work, and we had a number of folks on from Jerry Corsi, and Jerry's going to be back on with us today, and going back to that idea that there was yet another name for Barack Obama, and the name was Soebarkah. And boy, and the things that were said about all of that, and things that were said about anyone who would dare believe that. Well, now this paperwork drops. And in fact, there it all is. It's, we've been over this on Monday, or excuse me, rather on Thursday and Friday, and here we are to Monday. But now comes this. Remember we talked about Loretta Fuddy. And Loretta Fuddy was a member, it turns out to be, of a cult. And that cult was out of Indonesia, where Barack Obama spent part of his childhood. And we now come up with these 65 passport applications in reference to an application for an amendment of a passport, and it was for Stanley Ann Dunham. And you can see where Stanley Ann has knocked out this one name and reinvented this name, or put this really name in called Soebarkah, and I hope I pronounce it correctly. Having said that, we have all this paperwork. You can see it all. But now, over the weekend, because of this Subud cult, upturns this whole, like I say, we always say, seeing's believing, right? Are you going to believe me or your lying eyes? But the guy who runs, or who creates the Subud cult, if he doesn't look like Barack Obama, the guy looks like Barack Obama. Now, I want you to, why don't we just play this audio, Casey? And we just got the video up. Great work by Mark Crowley. And something else for you to, for your dining and dancing pleasure. Without further ado.
In a heavily resourced and documented article at AmericanThinker.com titled Barack Hussein Soebarkah by Jason Kistner, we find some amazing discoveries regarding the identity problem of Barack Hussein Obama. Jason Kistner is an associate professor of criminology at California State University, Fresno. Following is an edited synopsis of that article with an absolutely surprising find by the P.P. Simmons staff at the end of this video. One of the unexplained mysteries in the all-but-missing documentation of the early life of Barack Obama is the appearance of the name Soebarkah as his last name on an official document filled out by his mother. We are in possession of Stanley Ann Dunham Sotoro's 1968 application to extend her 1965 passport for an additional 2 years. Her passport, by the way, is now reportedly destroyed. On the second page of the application, Ann Dunham attempted to exclude her son Barack Obama, or Soebarkah, from her passport, but the item has been crossed out, perhaps on the advice of the consulate in Jakarta, as this would have left 7-year-old little Barry passportless, so the exclusion did not happen. The appendage Soebarkah seems to indicate a name change or a change in citizenship status for the boy. But there is a very good and surprisingly simple explanation for the seemingly random appearance of the name Soebarkah on Obama's mother's passport application. Believe it or not, the reason appears to be linked to Loretta Fuddy. That's right. The same Loretta Fuddy, the Hawaii State Health Director who approved the release of Obama's long-form birth certificate and who recently and mysteriously died in a plane crash off the coast of Molokai. Obama's mother and Loretta Fuddy have one very strange factor in common. Both have been directly linked to the Subud cult, which originated in, of all places, Indonesia, and was founded by the Javanese Muslim Muhammad Subud. The small cult appears to have around 20,000 members worldwide. Fuddy's cult member name was Diliana. Her official position was regional helper. Note also that the World Subud organization seems to have been based in, of all cities, Chicago. Wow, think about it. Indonesia, Chicago, Hawaii, 3 locales linked directly and very importantly to Obama's life. We also know from a Hawaii Advertiser article that Subud was introduced to Hawaii in the 1960s. Obama's mother was directly linked to Subud by her biographer and New York Times reporter Janie Scott in the book A Singular Woman, The Untold Story of Barack Obama's Mother. This book was reviewed by the New York Times, so this is a heavily documented fact. Loretta Fuddy worked her way up the ranks and became chairwoman of Subud USA, based in Seattle, from 2006 to 2008. But note that of all the persons that could have been installed as director of the State Department of Health in Hawaii, Hawaii chose Fuddy, a leader of a small cult with roots in Indonesia and connections to Barack Obama's mother. Secondly, remember that Fuddy assumed the directorship position in Hawaii in January 2011 after being appointed by Hawaii's governor just a few months before the release of Obama's long-form birth certificate. Changing one's name for spiritual reasons was something frequently done by followers of the cult Subud, and Stanley Ann Sotoro was in fact closely associated with Subud. We know that. It is reasonable then to suppose that Soebarkah, the name chosen for Obama on that passport, arose in the same way new names for others, like Deliana Loretta Fuddy did. But remember that the name Soebarkah appears in the passport renewal section labeled amend to include or exclude children. The name Barack Hussein Obama Soebarkah is crossed out. This signifies that Obama's mother had apparently decided to exclude Barack from her passport renewal. Apparently, Stanley Ann Dunham Sotoro changed her mind about the exclusion. Perhaps this was done after having been informed by the consulate there that doing so would leave Barack without a passport. But there is another possibility, one just as valid and even simpler. What if Obama's mother was trying to include Obama in the renewal, but she wasn't able to produce a birth certificate, and the Subud name Soebarkah simply did not suffice legally? That could explain why the name Soebarkah appears nowhere else in any of Obama's documentation of which we are currently aware. But now for the real shocker in this entire matter. The staff at P.P. Simmons did some research and found an old picture of the founder of the cult of Subud, one Mohammed Sabu Sumohadi Wijojo.
Watch this.
Do you see anything odd here?
Man, that's right.
Think about it.
Look at that picture.
Obama's mother, Dunham.
Yep.
Subud.
Wow.
Hawaii.
Yes.
Chicago.
I'm telling you guys.
Indonesia.
It's bizarre.
No birth certificate. Soebarkah on the passport.
This is crazy.
A dead Hawaii Department of Health director.
It's bizarre.
The one who conveniently
You see that,
certified
guys?
Obama's forged and fabricated
Boys are looking at it.
long-form birth certificate.
Guys.
Are all of these simply odd coincidences? Or is there something more here?
I'm telling you.
I have a feeling we will soon know the truth.
I don't know if we will, but I watched that over the weekend, and it came out of the chair. And the guys are, all right, now, so Mark Case, that's the first time you guys watched that. It's up on our website. It's great work, as always, by the man, Mark Crowley. It's up on the website, 710knus.com. You know, since I came over here and went to work here at 710, I came over from Brand X. Mark and Case, you're just wonderful. I mean, the success of the show has been incredible to be part of, and it's simply because of these two guys. Having said that, were you ever, before you fell under the evil influence of me, were you ever a guy that questioned Obama's life?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't go into quite depth that you did. It was one of those things where you're like, there's something there, but that's it.
Marky, did you? No, he never did. He said no. Now, you just saw that, and of course, as I said, I have spun my evil web around you guys, but you watched that video. That video is crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Now, how much does that guy look like Barack Obama?
A whole lot.
I mean, God. All right, Mark had 31 years as a cop. And as I said, when I came over here. Mark wasn't even remotely could be considered a birther person. How much have you changed? You can grab Casey's mic. How much have you changed since you and I have hooked up and worked together?
I've had my eyes open big time.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, here's yet another, now, I don't know, but to take a look at this guy, and I urge you folks to just go, and I think it captures, the entire video itself captures pretty much, well, not all the issues, but maybe about an eighth of the issues around who is Barack Obama.
You know, I'm not hearing you.
Go ahead, you're on, you're up.
Am I up? Okay. I didn't hear what you said, so tell me again.
Well, what I was saying is this video, which I think is wonderful, it makes you think, and when you get to the what's called the payoff of the video is this picture of this cult founder and who he really looks like. And when the guy, and I said, get ready, and then you see this guy's picture. And I don't know what it means or what it doesn't mean, but it's more of the same. You don't know who this guy is. And so as 31 years on the job, what do you do with this story next?
I think where it goes, and Casey and I were just talking about it, is that there's the so what factor, but where I think it really comes down to it is that it begins to discredit the entire Democratic side of Congress, that they just blindly followed a guy who was able to play the what do they call it,
the story,
just leading them,
lead the story
like lemmings.
Yeah, but I think worse, it condemns the mainstream media in this country from front to back, from the Denver Post to Channel 9 to KOA to ABC, NBC, CBS, the rest, Fox, everybody. But I don't know. I mean, I've gotten thousands of emails over time. Who is he? I don't know who he is. But this video is amazing. And I urge you to sit down, take a look at it, tell your friends about it. Yeah, Case. We start the morning with George. George, you're on the radio show. Good morning.
Morning, Peter. How are you?
I'm well. Speak up. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Bizarre. I half expected Rod Serling to pop up at the end of that video and tell me I was in the Twilight Zone. I don't know how much more we need to find out about the questions about this guy's past before somebody mainstream jumps on it, but it's snowballing now. And I mean, how long can they keep this thing going for?
Well, I thought about a lot about this weekend. I had a chance to see that video, and I had a chance to talk with some people there's this weird kind of network of people that they have included me in, that they'll call or they'll text or they'll email about the story of who Barack Obama is. And there's maybe 30 really interesting investigators. Some of them aren't, media people at all. They're just simply civilians who have been drawn into the fray, and they're questing for the truth. I don't know how to answer that, George. I come back to this, that the mainstream investigative press in this country is so totally invested in this man. But number two, they didn't do their job. It's almost as though you hire somebody as your gardener, and a couple of people have come to your house and said, look, don't hire this guy. He's a burglar. He's a drug addict. And I'm not saying Barack Obama's a child molester, but I'm looking at this for an analysis. And a handful of people come to say, George, don't hire him because this, and this. And you go, no, he's a good guy. So you hire him, and he robs your house. He does this, he does that, he does this. And you're too ashamed to go to your neighbors who warned you and say, you guys were right. But in the meantime, the people who did ask these questions, myself included, we were called racist and bigots, and the Denver Post and Rocky Mountain News wrote columns against us, and they wrote political cartoons about us, and we were considered the worst of the worst and considered still by many to be the same. I was in a show one time, fundraising. I don't think I've ever told the story on the air, and it was a fashion show. We used to all get into it. It's called Mutts and Models, and it was a fundraiser for an animal shelter, an animal treatment program. And I was walking down the ramp, and I was very quiet, and I was carrying this little dog, and somebody screamed at me, effing birther, out of the dark. No, I swear. I swear, it's a true story. It's a true story. You know, and I wanted to put the dog down and say, who said that? But it was dark, and I thought, yeah, don't make a scene. You know, walk on. But those guys are there. And by the way, I've received my, you know, I get about 25, why do you hate George Bush, which is interesting. And then 25 more, are we going to listen to this racist? And then there's a bunch of words after that. Talk again this morning. So I figured, hey, if we're making both sides mad, we must be doing something right.
They can say whatever they want, and they can do the racist thing as much as they want. This is a guy who said he was going to have the most transparent presidency ever, and I believe that's a verbatim quote.
Well, absolutely.
Okay? Where's the transparency?
George, let me ask you this simple question. Do you believe the official story of Barack Obama's life?
Absolutely not.
Why?
There have been too many contradictions that have been brought up since its inception, and I believe he's also scrubbed his book, the original book, so he himself has already changed it at least once.
Yeah, that's right.
That I know of. And, you know, between what you're doing and what Corsi's doing and the dreams of my real father, it's unbelievable, Peter.
But here's the
to me.
Here's the MacGuffin. And Joel Gilbert, who has long believed that Frank Marshall Davis is his biological father, watch this video and see this suburb guy.
Well, there's no question to that, Peter.
I'm telling you, it's bizarre.
It's bizarre.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
It's bizarre.
All right, bro.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.